morning and welcome back to Need More Info, a podcast exploring the worlds of movies, video games, and TV shows. I'm your host, Nate, and today I'm joined by James.
Hi.
And Jordan.
Hello.
Welcome, guys. Thank you very much for joining me again today, and thank you for joining me last week. That was a very, very interesting podcast last week, especially the conversational topics we had on the second part with the spoiler discussion. That was quite funny indeed.
Absolutely.
It was just ridiculous. Like the conflicting opinions, the love for the film, the marred opinion.
I think we generally had a kind of unified take in that it's not the best, but we've seen worse films.
I definitely think we encompassed like different aspects of the movie. Like I think it was like, you know, what some of us found more interesting, others didn't, and there was sort of like the yin to our yang, the more reverse sort of thing. So it was actually it's actually pretty good, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. So yeah, we are another week into 2022. The world is still burning around us. Hopefully nothing bad happens. We've already lost some lovely celebrities this year, which is unfortunate, and the horses keep going. But we come to this podcast to have a great and lovely time with everyone and get away from the week, for we are at the midpoint of the week, people. We record this on a Wednesday, so if you hear this any other day, this is when it is. So if you're in the future, hello from the past. If you're in the past, how are you listening to this? So yeah, how's everybody doing today? How are you doing, James?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Just chilling. Looking forward to doing the list today. Didn't have many honourable mentions this week, but I think you'll find I've got plenty to talk about this week.
Pretty awesome. And how about yourself, Jordan?
Yeah, man, I'm doing good. I've got a couple of honourable mentions, but actually got a list of 5 this time around. So yeah.
Yay!
Keen to give everyone my hot takes.
And keen to give everyone a top 5.
I mean, I'd like to think that my top 5 is somewhat special because I don't think you both have seen the shit that I watch. But needless to say, I'm happy to talk about all of it, so I'm excited.
I think it definitely goes into a case of like, as people will probably guess, I'm most like the mainstream stuff more than everyone else, and that's kind of good for me. You know, I'm the host of the show and everything. It's actually good to have like, you know, the people I know come on and give me their intakes of what they like, what they don't like. When Doug did My Octopus Teacher for the movie, for the top 5, and that caught me off guard, and that's definitely added to my list now, as I said last week. And I think when I got a bit of time, I'm going to be definitely going away and watching that. So it definitely seems interesting. But yeah, it's really interesting to have like these different takes on, and it's actually nice to have people with a top 5.
Screw you, man.
Hey, it's the best way to go, you know.
Just because you're a bloody normie with your opinions.
I just watch everything. People say to me, Nate, how do you have time? And people have questioned me on this many times.
It's because you don't sleep, I guess.
Sleep, what is that? What is that? But anyway, people, we have shown our love for film. We have shown our passion for games. And now this week we close out with our top lists for 2021 with our top 5 TV shows that really captivated us. And maybe drew us together to have the discussion and with what other people were watching. Honestly, like, you know, there's been some interesting TV shows this year have come out, and some shows that came out of nowhere, which is, you know, ridiculous and made a lot of money for some companies, which is absolutely, absolutely ridiculous. But, you know, like last week, I'd like to go around initially and get an idea what sort of like shows you guys enjoy. Because, you know, as last week we did that, and it might have given an insight people ahead of time what sort of games are coming up or outliers, you know, that might appear and whatnot. But James, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, so I think when it comes to my list, there are a few which aren't this, but you'll probably find that there is a lot of comedies, because that tends to be my favourite genre. I'm a wannabe writer. I do attempt at writing comedy. Badly, but still attempt. So yeah, but that's the most popular genre on my list.
I mean, is comedy ever bad? It's just subjective. So, you know, that's the best
Oh,
way.
no. I mean, I'm just being self-deprecation. Actually, my comedy's fucking great. You should go and buy all my books.
And yeah, no, definitely check that out. Hey, you know,
It's like quick shameless plug. What's the name of your book, James?
Confused Llama: A Spy's Tale. It's a spy spoof.
So where can people find that, James?
They can get it on Amazon if they search for it.
Yeah, so people, that is Confused Llama: A Spy's Tale, is it?
It is, that's correct.
Yeah, A Spy's Tale, and it's on a Kindle and paperback. So if you want to go purchase that on Amazon, you can actually go see that show now. It's like Confused Llama, A Spy's Tale. Thank you, James. And how about yourself, Jordan?
So I kind of like a bit of everything, but much to my game list, I'm very into like engaging stories, but I'm also a bit of a crime documentary nut. Surprisingly, there's no crime documentaries in my top 5 this year, but I have definitely watched far too many over the lockdown as well as previously. So I guess if I was ever to become a serial killer, then I'll probably be the best trained. It's like this will be down in the police log somewhere. So yeah, it's like I'm joking, NSA.
Yeah, who's listening? What? Oh, we got him. We got him, people. We got him. No,
It's like he admitted it.
I think my only source of serial killerness and learning is from Dexter. Obviously, we won't talk about the end of that show, but I've heard the new season is very good. So yeah, and I heard it ends quite well. So because it is actually a limited series, so definitely check that out, people. I'm definitely probably going back at that myself. But yeah, that's awesome. And myself, you know, I'm a very it's been a weird like time with like TV shows like in the last year. Like I've tried to expand like what I'm really enjoying. I've definitely dropped off a lot of the TV shows that I was watching because you know a lot of people know for me I used to watch a ton of TV shows every week. Like I used to watch like 30 different TV shows a week, and people like
You're like the most switched on media personality in my friendship circle.
yeah, it can be a detriment at times, to be honest. Like you could be like, okay, Nate, cool. Let's talk about that later. AKA, let's steer the conversation elsewhere. So yeah, no. But I've tried to expand my shows I like. You know, I've never really watched horror shows. I've only seen the odd live action show from a different country. I've watched plenty of anime in sub and everything, but not like live action. But yeah, because I think it's different when people talk in live action. But I tried it out and I've actually quite enjoyed it. So you may see on my list on me going there a little bit. But yeah, that is the kind of shows I'm into a little bit. You know, more popular shows, more common shows, and not as much as I used to. I mainly listen to watch podcasts now with the odd TV show in between, so I've definitely cut it down. But yeah, so yeah, that is it, people. That is what we are sort of into. And with that, people, I think we should start off with our usual honorable mentions. So I'm going to hand it over to James. So James, do you want to give us your honorable mentions?
I have 7.
Jesus fucking Christ!
Lucky 7 honorable mentions. So I
Make sure you just needed to pick more.
You want a top 10?
I didn't have enough time. I don't have enough time to pick more. Should have done, shouldn't I? Should have made a whole show just my honorable mentions. I'll try and get them very quickly. If I might go through and talk a bit more about some of them. So the first one I'm going to say is Into the Night. I want to say it's a Belgian TV show. And a quick check will let me know that. Yeah, we can check it later on. I'm pretty sure it's a Belgian TV show. But so yeah, it's on Netflix. I watched it with the English dubbing on, but it's surprisingly good. It's an apocalyptic kind of show about survivors of an apocalyptic event. Quite a unique apocalyptic event, and so if you like that kind of thing, I do recommend it. And season 2, this is for honorable mention for season 2 that was out last year, and I thought it took it in a interesting direction.
It's a Belgian show, James.
I thought so. I should trust myself more, shouldn't I? Because I know my stuff. So the next thing I'm going to say is Love, Death and Robots, in inverted commas, season 2. It's an anthology. That's why I'm going into inverted commas. It's not as good as the first season, but there are still a few in there which I thought were pretty decent, and I still think it's worth a watch. The next show I'm going to go with is I'm going to start on the sitcoms on the mentions now. So I'm going to go with WandaVision. I've already said my love of comedy shows, and WandaVision I thought was spectacularly experimental in how it went through the different eras of the sitcoms, and I just really loved how they did that, especially with the first 2 or 3 episodes. Those episodes are really good. My next one's going to be Close Enough. Very wacky animation, absurdist comedy. Basically about the existential crisis of being in your 30s.
I'm going through that right now.
So, we all are. So, Ghosts is my next one. Season 3, I think it was. I think that, and this is the UK show. I know the US have tried to steal the concept, but this is the original UK show. Hands off our properties, US. I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking. In all fairness, I did finally get round to watching the American, not The Office, and that was brilliant. So you can clearly do really good adaptations. But nonetheless, Ghost UK version season 3. I think it's getting better and better. That show. Next one, I've got 2 more. Superstore. I'm going to go with for it's. The bulk of its episodes for the final season was last year, and actually, I thought it was quite important because it's showing. It was literally showing how the pandemic affected those working in the superstore in the final season. It was really great to see how they were able to weave in the real life pandemic into that.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah, and my final mention, although I kind of feel maybe it should be last. Yeah, but my final mention is The Witcher. So
we are definitely going to talk about that later.
cool. So we'll come back to that one later on.
I'm presuming you're specifically talking about season 2.
Exactly.
Yeah,
yes,
because
season 2.
just to let you in for an insight, people, James is a very big Witcher fan. He's read all the books, played all the games, and I've got some like intro. I think he's definitely gonna have some hot takes about the new season, because I know the internet definitely did as well. So that'll be definitely interesting to come back to later. But that's your final one, James?
That is, yes.
Awesome.
You can finally move on.
That's fine. That's fine with your top 12 list. So Jordan, what honorable mentions do you have? Okay, is it 9 honorable mentions or is it less?
It is actually only 2.
Oh, thank God. No, I'm joking, James. It's fine.
So, my first honorable mention, it's kind of cheating a little bit, but I count it as, I guess we'll just say this is my honorable franchise mention, which is Neon Genesis Evangelion. It was like a big revival this year because they basically released all of Evangelion in Blu-ray, and all of its films, and also the final Evangelion film came out towards the summer of this year. It was delayed because of COVID, but it finally got released around September time, I want to say. Absolutely phenomenal series, and the film especially was absolutely astounding to watch. It was definitely worth the wait. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that sort of thing, but essentially the Evangelion movies that it's called Rebuild Evangelion. It's like another set of films, and it's taken them like 12 years to finish it because I guess as technology advances, they just keep making it bigger and better. But the reason I bring up Neon Genesis Evangelion is because one of its big things this year was the kind of revival onto like European streaming platforms and US streaming platforms, so we could all watch on Netflix. An amazing show, very crazy. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but it's a mind fuck for sure. Like it's a lot to take in, and yeah, it's absolutely brilliant way to bring it back during the pandemic. But my other honorable mention is Peep Show. Again, another show that I binged over lockdown. Over and over because it's the existential dread and kind of cynical humor about it, and the cringe was just so, I don't know, delectable when you're stuck inside and have nothing better to do. So yeah, it was definitely worth watching again. And yeah, that's my honorable picks.
Nice. And I love the fact that it's going to come back to me now with James taking the piss at me a little bit, because I know James had 7. But I figured I was only going to do 3 of my honorable mentions, but since I've got 5 written down, James, I might quickly go through them. So my first one is WandaVision. James might have thought that might have been higher on my list, possibly. But no, that's honorable mention. Obviously, Elizabeth Olsen,
There's
Paul
a lot
Bettany.
more MCU series this year, aren't there? So,
Oh yeah, it's so many. Yeah, that was I loved the show. Obviously, this is pretty much at the start of the year now. It was a great show, visually stunning. The fact it went from the 1950s visual style in black and white to now the fact that they filmed Vision in like he was painted blue in the first episode because the pink wouldn't work well on camera. So so that was weird to see the behind the scenes of him in blue and how that's going to tie into the future. I think is pretty amazing. And there's like this whole I don't think you've seen WandaVision yet, Jordan, have you?
Nope.
No. So like there's this like it's not much of a spoiler, but in between the episodes there's like these adverts. So like it actually plays out like the first I want to say 6-7 episodes play out like actual TV shows. But then they cut out to the real world and there's this whole thing and without spoiling too much, but there's these TV adverts that take place in it. And a character was supposed to appear in it because of COVID. They couldn't, which is really frustrating. And some people say that character's in the post-credit scene because it's Marvel, so it's got to have a post-credit scene.
Yep.
But yeah, no. But I thought the show was brilliant. I love the fact one character is getting a spin-off, which I thought was excellent because they were amazing. I thought it was brilliant. Also, that character has an amazing thing that appeared in other media. I won't spoil it until people have watched it. But yeah, that's one of my honorable mentions, WandaVision. My next one is Squid Game. So this is the one that just came out of nowhere. I think it's pretty much for a lot of people, this show just came out of nowhere for everyone. And the fact that the creator was trying to create it for years before it actually got picked up, and the fact it's made Netflix a ton of money. And I'm just wondering where they're going to go.
I still haven't seen that show. I keep meaning to, right? And I tried to watch it when I was hungover once, and there's a scene like right at the start that's just really unsettling that I was like, I can't do this like right now.
What was that scene?
It's like really early. It's after he's like dropped some money and the guys come up with the pliers, and I was just like, oh god, like I can't watch this when I'm hungover. I can't handle it. But like I really want to watch it. One, because of the hype, but two, it sounds like something I would really enjoy. You know, I'm a big fan of Battle Royale. I know that's like a Japanese franchise, but it gave me that sort of vibe when people were talking about it. So yeah, gutted I haven't seen it yet.
It's definitely interesting, like, and obviously it's coming back for season 2, which is everyone was just ecstatic for. Because I mean, the amount of money made, of course, they're bloody going to do a season 2, hopefully. But it would have been balls to the wall if the director just went, "Fuck it, no season 2, that's it, people." That would have been amazing if you just did that. But yeah, that's Squid Game is my one of my mentions. Another one is Hawkeye. So obviously another Marvel show. I really enjoyed the show. Obviously, James, have you seen Hawkeye yet?
I have, yes.
Oh, you have seen Hawkeye then? Okay, because
I was watching it week by week, even though I said I wasn't going to.
Yeah, because basically James, so a character appeared in that, which no one. Well, he was hinted at the entire time. I don't know if Jordan cares at this point. No, nope. Jordan's just shaking his head right now.
I'm like a Marvel. Like shunner. I just don't. I don't have the patience to watch all these shows in order to watch any of the movies, but I'll give it a go at some point, but maybe when the hype's over. So
Can you put out a spoiler warning for the audience? Are you going to spoil it?
Yeah, no, I was about to. So spoilers, people, quick spoilers for this. Come back in about. Actually, you know what? I won't spoil it. Because it's only been like the last month, so character appears in it. Thought it was brilliant, and how they were introduced, I thought it was pretty awesome. That's literally the level I can go to, and trust me, that's even spoilers for James because James hasn't even seen Spider-Man yet, and I couldn't say anything about that because he hasn't even seen any of the trailers. And like that was the most difficult number one. Go back to the first week, people. That was the most difficult number one I've ever had to talk about on a list without spoil. Because usually trailers you can at least talk about them, but I was like, no, I'm not going to spoil a single thing. I accidentally, James was like, no, you kind of spoiled one thing with the hour mark. I know James is like, oh, but yeah, no, that's my number 3 honorable mention. I do want to give a quick shout out that they do have a deaf character in the show. She's actually deaf in real life and an amputee, and a diver that plays in the story as well, which I thought was really awesome. Small narrative points, and Haley Steinfeld and Jeremy Renner are really good in it. My next one is, see, this is what I was talking about before about like I've been trying to expand my sort of shows I'm into, because then my next show is sorry James, you want to jump in, dude?
Yeah, you missed a real star of a show with Hawkeye.
Oh yes, Lucky the Pizza Dog. Yes, sorry, yeah, I do. Yeah, Lucky the Pizza Dog was a badass. Also, wasn't missing an eye in real life. That was CGI. Yeah, I didn't realize that. I was like, they CGI'd a dog's eye. Fair play. I believe they CGI'd it. I don't think they're going to do prosthetics, but yeah,
you can't really do that to a dog.
no. So yeah, my next one is Midnight Mass, a show I've been telling a load of people to go and watch. It is a Mike Flanagan Netflix show starring Zach Gilford, Katie Siegel, Hamish Linklater, Samantha Lowen, Rahul Kohli, and Henry Thomas. Big shout outs. I know these people have been getting a lot of praise, and for big shout outs to the characters played by Hamish Linklater and Rahul Kohli. Like I'm a big fan of theirs. Like Hamish Linklater plays the priest in the show. It's a supernatural like encased mini series, and it's about a young man returning to his home island, and this island is sort of like, it's one of those towns that's just like dying essentially, like everyone's leaving, but there's this church and there's like this religious element to it, and it's about this guy's returning home after 4 years in prison, and it's about this whole aspect of it, but there's something not right. And I tell you, I got to the third episode, and it freaked me the fuck out, because my family were watching it, and they don't usually watch the same thing either. And I said to them, don't take your eyes off the screen in episode 3, because if you do at a certain point and look back, you will shit yourself. And they messaged me going, we didn't listen. And yeah, it's from Mike Flanagan, who did obviously The Haunting at Hill House, The Haunting at Bly Manor. He also did Doctor Sleep.
I was going to ask, is it a horror series?
It is a
thriller,
horror series,
psychological thriller.
So there is horror in it, but it's a lot of it is about the drama of the characters. It's just there are supernatural elements initially, and then it builds up from there. And there is a song at the end of the show, which I've always had a huge affinity for, but it actually made me tear up at the end.
Oh, okay.
And
I think you're gonna say and I could never listen to that song again.
a quick thing is like Rahul Kohli, he plays the Muslim sheriff of the town, but he isn't. I don't believe he's religious in real life, and he actually has a Muslim friend. So when he actually got the part, he actually contacted his friend who's Muslim to ask him, like, all this information so he could actually portray the character correctly. And he's only in his roughly he's in early 30s in real life, but he's playing like this mid-40s sheriff as a dad and everything. And he is brilliant in the show. He has this monologue scene about 9/11 and being a cop and everything during 9/11 and a Muslim, and it was just brilliant. And I highly recommend. And I think it's 7 episodes. They are over an hour long though, so they are a good time to sink into. I think by the third episode, the second episode, you'll start to know what it is. By the third episode, you will know. But I highly recommend it. But it's just not high on my list. I really enjoyed it. It's definitely an honorable mention. So yeah, that's a Midnight Mass, people. And hopefully I was all correct in my information there. But yeah, it's Midnight Mass. My final one is Superman and Lois. So Superman, one of my favorite superheroes. I'm a bit sad how the DC universe has gone with him portraying him. Like, he's been a character of usually mainly of hope. Obviously, you can have the different side of him. There's a few good animated films which show you don't fuck with Superman. And basically, there's an animated movie called Superman versus the Elite, where these other superheroes come in saying, "Oh no, you can kill," and Superman's like, "No," and then you find out later, "No, you don't do that, because if Superman lets loose, you don't want that to happen." And yeah, this shows about him being a dad now, and like it's having 2 sons, and it's taking over the father role from Jarrell and everything, and and Lois Lane. You'd think, oh, it's just going to be like another Lois and Clark TV show, but it's not. It's like Lois figuring herself out, and there's this huge conspiracy going on in the show, and it's in its second season now. And Tyler Hoechlin as the main character is brilliant. He is amazing as Superman. He brings this like really goofy energy, but also this really like stoic energy to the character. And I'm really looking forward to seeing where the show's going when I eventually go back to watch it. So yeah, that was my last honorable mention, Superman and Lois. So yeah, people, we've gone through all the honorable mentions, and I think I'm gonna roll it back to James now with his number 5. Do you want to take it off, James?
Yeah, absolutely. So my number 5 choice is a show. It's a comedy show called Dead Pixels. It's if you don't know it, it's on Channel 4. It's a show about, it's basically a show about people who play an MMO style game, like a WoW style game, and it is fucking hilarious. It's really good. I recommend it out. First series is on Netflix. Season 2, I believe, is on all 4. It's definitely worth it. It takes a lot of jabs at gaming and gaming culture, but
So,
I think
who doesn't?
yeah. But I think it's done from it's done from a good place, if that makes sense. It feels like it knows its shit. It knows what it's talking about, put it that way, and it skews it fantastically. So yeah, if you don't mind, if you like games like I do, and you don't mind laughing at yourself a bit, I'll admit I'm not a fan of WoW, so most of the jokes don't really affect me. But
I guess I'll have fun watching it.
yeah,
Not that
but
I'm a huge MMO player right now, but I'll definitely understand it, I think.
yeah, it's definitely worth a watch.
Awesome, excellent. John, let's throw it over to you for your number 5.
So I'm gonna go out on a limb here and think that you might have heard of the original show, but maybe not this show. So my number 5 pick is Cells at Work Code Black. Now, Cells at Work is an anime about cells in the human body just kind of going about their day. It's like it's catered to children, I guess, but it's a very funny crazy show about a red blood cell just doing its job, going around and meeting other cells, and you learn a lot as well while you're watching it. However, Cells at Work Code Black is essentially a R-rated version of that show, and it's made by the same people. It's kind of like a spin-off, I guess, where basically, where the cells are like fighting off bacteria and infections and such. Code Black is essentially like, here we get out the samurai swords and everyone's murdering brutally everything around them and everything's going to shit. And it's, instead of it being in the body of like a child, I think it is in the original show, it's like the body of like an alcoholic person who's got cholesterol and all kinds of shit. It's absolutely wild.
So it's kind of like a more adult take on Osmosis Jones.
Yeah, it's kind of like Osmosis Jones, but like obviously it's made in Japan, so there's a lot of kind of Japanese tropes going on there. But yeah, similar sort of concept. It's
Nice.
it's based on a manga, I think, as well. But yeah, absolutely hilarious but harrowing anime. And yeah, it came out only last year, so it's quite a fresh new anime. And yeah, that's my number 5 pick.
Nice, excellent, awesome. Thank you very much. And I definitely need to check that because I did really enjoy Osmosis Jones back then. I know you mentioned Cells at Work before. I swear, I think you mentioned Black to me also in here. It's the the fucked up side of it, which is pretty funny to be honest. So that's cool. So my number 5 is Cobra Kai season 4. Now, this show is someone nailed it to me. Someone nailed it for me. It is a live action anime. That is the best way to describe it. Because how can you have teenagers have a massive martial arts school fight and learn martial arts in a matter of weeks? We're talking like flips, like full on knowing the entire martial arts in weeks. No, in the second season, the entire school bursts out into a martial arts fight. Like the
Damn.
entire punching teachers in the face, like kicking kids
Oh
in
my
the
god.
railings. Like it is like bringing out knuckle dusters, like spiked knuckle dusters to punch people, and this all started off with a crane kick in the fucking first Karate Kid movie back in the 80s. Like, but it was interesting because the show flips the script essentially. The show is from Johnny Lawrence's perspective. Like he's a down and out, like just handyman. His life's shit. Like he's just getting day by day. And Ralph Macchio's character Daniel LaRusso is like this high rise, really rich car salesman. And the show goes from there. And then Cobra Kai initially is about a show. This kid comes in, Miguel, Latino kid. He trains him up in Cobra Kai, the methodology there. And the show just gets, like, at the beginning, you're like, okay, cool, this is like a new take on Karate Kid. And it just gets so much faster and in the first season they put them in, the second season they put them in like cement truck wheels to train, like to push the wheel around with cement in so the cement doesn't like harden, so they stop it. And like there's like people jumping over buildings for training, and like it is in like Jordan's face, what the fuck, like
It sounds like an absolutely wild show.
That's the thing. Each episode is like 30 minutes long to 40 minutes long. There's 10 episodes in a season. And it was renewed for a 5th season before the 4th season even premiered, like 4 months before it premiered. And it's kind of lucky for me because this is my cheat, because the show came out December 31st last year. So it still fucking counts as 2021. But yeah, that is my number 5, Cobra Kai. And we are going to hand it back to James for his number 4.
Yeah. So my number 4 is Solar Opposites. It's an animated sitcom by Justin Roiland, the co-creator of Rick and Morty. I don't know if it's going to be a controversial take by me or not, but I massively prefer Solar Opposites to Rick and Morty.
It's not that controversial to me, but that's coming from somebody who hates Rick and Morty. So
that's fair play. I like Rick and Morty, but it's a love-hate relationship. But there's stuff I like, there's stuff I really like about it, and then there's stuff that I don't like about it. So it's kind of like it kind of like levels out for me. That show, I don't mind it. Solar Opposites, I think I felt was a lot better. And without spoiling too much for anybody who's not seen it, there is something they do there in that show which is really unique, where there's a section essentially which kind of has its own narrative, separate to the main narrative of the show, and it is really interesting and unique how they do that, and they get a lot of.
I'll have to check it out. That sounds good.
So, for context as to what the show's about, so people understand, it's about a bunch of aliens who had to escape a planet which was destroyed. They land on Earth with the intent of terraforming it after a long period of time. But they are basically trying to learn about humanity, kind of blending with humanity in the meantime. And it's a good show. Watch it.
Excellent. Right, Jordan, do you want to give us your number 4?
Yeah, absolutely. So my number 4 pick is Aggretsuko season 4. This came out quite close to the end of 2021, but Aggretsuko continues to be an absolutely brilliant and hilarious anime. For those of you who don't know, it kind of centers around a bunch of anthropomorphic animals living and working in Japan, and it kind of it centers around a little red panda girl and just sort of her struggles with office life and love and friendships and just getting on with it. But by night she takes out her frustration by doing very aggressive heavy metal karaoke. And my favorite fact about this is that the guy who created this show is the one who does the metal singing. He says that his voice is always destroyed by the time the season is over. But yeah, it's continued to be an absolutely amazing show, like ridiculous twists and turns, and the characters are beautifully animated. So yeah, I highly recommend that show to everyone. But this season especially was pretty fucking good. So yeah, that's my pick.
Awesome. Yeah, I know someone recommended that to me, show. Well, I think you recommended it as well, Jordan. So
Yeah, man, it's so good.
I'll have to add it to the list. Awesome. So that's Aggretsuko, people. That is on Netflix, if I'm correct.
Yes.
Excellent, excellent. So my number 4, I believe James has seen. I know a good friend of ours elsewhere has seen it, but it's Invincible. Oh, okay.
I've not seen it.
If you haven't, gonna watch it as soon as you can because it is fucking ace. It is a show by Robert Kirkman. So Jordan's ears might be pricked by that because he loves The Walking Dead.
Absolutely.
And funny enough, actually, Invincible is I don't know if it was which way it is, but in one of the comic books they have like the other shows. They have the other comic book in that show when they're reading it. So it's pretty awesome. So I thought it was pretty good. But yeah, the show centers around 17-year-old Mark Grayson as he transforms into a superhero under the guidance of his father, the most powerful man in the world, Omni-Man. His name's Omni-Man. And Mark Grayson is voiced by Steven Yeun, who played Glenn in The Walking Dead.
Mm-hmm.
So there are a lot of Walking Dead voice actors in this show, like
That does not
a lot of
surprise
voice
me.
actors. And Sandra Oh plays the mum. She's known for Grey's Anatomy and Killing Eve. And our good old boy, get me pictures of Spider-Man, J.K. Simmons as Omni-Man himself, because that mustache needs, like, when you see him in the show, like, you literally see him animated, you're like, that's J.K. Simmons, just straight away.
I was just thinking, like, everybody is seen that particular character because he shows up in memes a lot.
Exactly. Like, you know, he's pretty much every kind of meme. He is the angry photograph meme. He's a not my correct tempo from Whiplash, which is a brilliant movie, by the way. People highly recommend it. But yeah, the only thing is I can't spoil the show for you because all I say is when you initially watch the show, it seems like a Spider-Man animated TV show. Like it just seems like, you know, the standard cartoon TV show, but it is created and produced by Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg, who did Preacher.
I know where this is going.
Yeah, and the thing is though, each episode is 42 to 50 minutes long. Like they're long animated episodes, but there are only 8 of them. And when the show came out, it was universally, it was just praised by everyone for the accuracy because the animation is gorgeous. It's from an Image comic series, which is finished now as well. And I unfortunately knew the comics ahead of time, so I knew what was coming. But when I watched it in the show, they amped it up way more than the comic book. It made it how you go more violent than a comic book, which can go to excess levels, is ridiculous. But I can't spoil it more than that. But Amazon went. When we're going to get season 2, Amazon went, okay, here's the season 2. And have a season 3 at your at it. They just gave it 2 more seasons right away because it was that popular.
Damn.
Like, yeah, it's like I call it the animated version of The Boys on steroids at points. It's just honestly, highly recommend it. It's Invincible on Amazon Prime. Go watch it. It's only 8 episodes. It is about 6.5, 7 hours to watch if you just binge it. Also, it's the whole day if you wanted to. If you're just lazy or you have to stay inside. But definitely check it out. It's so good. So good. So that is my number 4. Right, James, do you want to take us to your number 3?
Sure. So my number 3 is What We Do in the Shadows. It's the TV show based on offshoot from a film. And I think it's a TV show that has got better and better as time goes on. I thought the first series was okay. I thought the second series was really good. And I think and the third series continues that trajectory. The first 2 episodes in that show are some of the funniest episodes of TV, certainly of that show. And I think it also ends. It's a bit of a low in the middle, I felt, but the way it ends that series as well, it ends in a really interesting direction. Definitely worth a watch. So it's about, you don't know what it's about? It's about, it's basically a mockumentary of vampires living in America.
Was this was it a Johnny Depp film?
Can't remember who was in it. I know it's like a Waititi film,
Yeah,
is it
maybe.
not?
I might be
know
thinking of a
Taika
different
Waititi-
film,
yeah,
but
pretty sure it's Taika Waititi.
Oh no, that's
You are,
Dark
I think-
Shadows, I believe. That's the
ah,
Tim Burton one. Let me. I think the one you're on about is getting the old Google going now, people. Yeah, it's Dark Shadows. Yeah.
yeah, my bad.
Yeah, it's What We Do in the Shadows. Yeah, it's Matt Berry, other people, and it's really good. It's
I
really good.
love Matt Berry, Taika Waititi, which we also could have mentioned again, and other people.
Just general cast.
To be fair, have you seen the trailer for the new Taika Waititi show coming out? It's
don't think
a
I have.
pirate show. Taika Waititi plays Blackbeard.
Oh, I know what this is.
Oh, okay, cool.
It's the I can't remember what it's called, but it's talking about a famous pirate.
Yes, it is. I'm trying to. As people are talking, I'm trying to like just cut through right now and be like, I know exactly what this is. Googling in the background. It's Our Flags Mean Death. So it's about a steady or steady bonnet.
Yeah,
And
it's
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Steve
Steve
Bonnet.
Bonnet.
Steve Bonnet. He's got a great character in the
the
Golden Age
Gentleman
of Piracy.
Pirate.
Yes. I want to just throw out there now that you can save yourself some time by going to watch Internet Historian's version of Stede Bonnet, the Gentleman Pirate. They do an absolutely brilliant like story summary of the entire thing. I mean, all the videos are amazing, but that particular one is it's like a feature-length movie. And yeah, I definitely recommend watching it. However, I can understand if you want to save yourself for the Taika Waititi, because I would be interested to see how they take the story. But it is based on a real person.
I actually really like the main actor in the upcoming show, Rhys Darby. He's a very famous like comedic actor. If you see him or hear his voice, you know exactly who he is. He's been in pretty much everything. He's been like We Were What We Do in the Shadows, The Boat That Rocked, about that pirate radio shit. Welcome to the Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, Voltron, the animated TV show, which by the way, highly recommend people.
So if you want to, I'm just a bit. I used to be a bit of a nerd on pirates and the history of that, so I found it very interesting. So if you want to go to the primary source material for it, it is a general history of robberies and murders of the most notorious pirates by one Captain Charles Johnson, who at one point was thought to be Daniel Defoe, although that has now been debunked. But yeah, that's it's actually. I mean, if you like, might be a little bit dry because it was written in the 18th century, but you want to go straight to the source and find the true history of pirates.
So if you want to delve into the that knowledge people after jumping off the plank, I definitely recommend that. Yeah,
That was never a thing,
well,
dude.
I'm going with it because it allowed me
invention.
to do the pun.
James is like schooling on pirates now.
So don't pull that shit, Nate. Don't put your fiction in here. How dare you? I may be a fiction writer myself, but
Disgrace the
how
name of
dare
pirate.
you?
Or at least, or at least I believe, or at least my understanding is that it's definitely
Well,
began
I will
as
come
a-
back next week and be like, haha, James, I found one plank on a pirate ship. So technically it's right.
Oh no, I mean it depends if it's after the myth began.
Well. Trying to fuck up my plan ahead of time. I see how it is.
So I think people, so I think some people may have begun doing that after the myth, but it's more kind of like doing that as a response to that.
I'm calling a white flag there, or a parlay, or it's a parlay. We're calling a parlay there. So we will shift on to the next on the list. So Jordan, do you want to give us your number 3?
Yeah, so you cheekily brought it up earlier, but I decided not to say anything. But it is Dexter New Blood. I have watched almost all of it. I haven't watched the final episode because as I was watching it, it wasn't completed at the time. But I'm saving that final episode for this weekend. But yeah, no, for any fan out there of the original series, I can definitely tell you that this is the most complimentary way to continue the story of Dexter. And I mean, I don't want to go into it too much in case nobody's seen Dexter, but essentially this takes place after like a time skip, and the production quality is absolutely amazing. Like it's all centered around upper state New York, in the middle of like a woodland area, and yeah, I mean, it. What can I say really? There's so much going on with it, and it brings back so many amazing members of the original cast. And yeah, I thought it was absolutely astounding. I watched it over Christmas too, and the entire show is set in like a kind of snow-covered, town permanently throughout the whole series. So it felt like a very Christmassy sort of thing to get on with. But yeah, I highly recommend that show to anybody.
Yeah, it's definitely bringing the meaning and surprise of a moment tracker. The show's actually good again because I dropped off Dexter pretty much. I think it was the 5th or 6th season because I watched the 4th season with a certain. I think we said that's been that many years. I watched the Trinity Killer. I won't say who it was because obviously we don't want to spoil that at least. And I think that was the peak of Dexter in my opinion. That was I think that was just like the peak of it essentially. And I think Michael C. Hall is.
I mean, season after that is pretty fucking awesome as well. It's not the Trinity Killer, it's the Doomsday Killer. Like that season, especially for me, was just absolutely mind blowing. And the ending of that season is like the biggest, cliffhanger I've seen in quite a long time. Just like, oh shit. But I can understand that like the final season after that, or I think it's the season after that one, is kind of a bit dry. But that was really what kind of annoyed people about the series in general. And New Blood kind of revives that, I guess, season 1 vibe. Just centers more around Dexter and is less drama.
Yeah, no, and I definitely, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Michael C. Hall in pretty much anything he's in. Like, a lot of people are pitching Doctor Doom. I think he'd actually make a pretty good Doctor Doom. I know a lot of people saying Giancarlo Esposito, but that man has played so many villains now. Let him play a good guy. There's this thing of like they want to make the X-Men black, Professor X and Magneto black. Because obviously it started with the civil rights movement. That was the whole X-Men, the whole behind it. And they want there's rumors they want to make Giancarlo Esposito, Professor Xavier, and Denzel Washington as Magneto.
Oh, that would be so good.
And also it was so meta because Denzel Washington, I believe, played Malcolm X, which is the Magneto. Yeah, and I don't know if Denzel would do a comic book movie. I think if we get Denzel for a comic book movie, it's done at that point. Like,
wasn't The Equalizer a comic?
I know it was an old TV show, but I don't remember it was a comic book.
Might be thinking of something else
later. Yeah, but no, I've just Michael C. Hall, just brilliant, and a few other actors. I don't know if we could spoil the actors in it, but I know one of the actors in the new season. It's pretty awesome. But yeah, okay, everyone, that is Jordan's number 3. So we're going on to my number 3 now, which people might think this is blasphemous, but my number 3 is Arcane. So that show. I've never been like a big League of Legends fan. I've never obviously if you listen to last week's podcast, I am into mainly narrative heavy single player games, and League of Legends to me wasn't that type of game I was into. The lore was interesting, the art was really nice and everything, but the actual game itself just wasn't my kind of thing. Great for everyone else, but for me, not my kind of thing. And going into the show,
this is also on my list at number 2. So you're not that far off, Nate. I definitely am 100% behind your point in that I had not playing League of Legends either, for the exact same reasons. Just thinking like, oh, it's just a competitive game. What story could it possibly have? And oh my goodness, I was so wrong.
Yeah, no, and it's definitely been the year. I will probably come back to it later, but it's definitely been the year of Haley Steinfeld, Hawkeye, and this. It's like and a TV show called Dickinson. Like it's pretty awesome. But I guess we'll come back to that later then. So that was my number 3, Arcane. So James, do you want to roll on us over to your number 2?
Yep. So my number 2 is Inside Job. It's an animation on Netflix. It's basically think of it as if conspiracies are real, and you're following somebody in like an Illuminati-esque conspiracy. and it's a comedy animation. It's very good. Quite with most conspiracies that they cover, they have a very nice little unique take on those conspiracies. It's not exactly the same as the your normal understanding of those conspiracies, and that adds a nice twist to those episodes. And it's definitely worth a watch if you're a fan of animated sitcoms.
Yeah, I've seen that on Netflix, and I've noticed a lot of like animation shows are coming out with that sort of like animation style now. I don't know if it's just like quicker and cheaper to produce, or that's just what they feel is what's like. A lot of shows are doing like the Gravity Falls, Steven Universe style animation now as well. But they did a Thundercats TV show, wasn't my kind of thing. But I bet Steven Universe is brilliant, so I might give that a watch at some point. And Gravity Falls. But Inside Job as well. Like I've seen that on Netflix, and it's definitely on my list to watch. So yeah, thank you, James. That is Inside Job on Netflix, people. So Jordan, let's roll it back to you. And wonder what Jordan's number 2 could be.
So obviously I fucking loved Arcane. It was absolute treasure. It was kind of unexpected. Like for me, I'd had no idea it was coming out, but my housemate is a huge League of Legends fan, and he spent pretty much all of lockdown telling me I should start playing League of Legends. And I still haven't played League of Legends, but he also told me to watch this show, and he wasn't wrong. Like it is absolutely brilliant. The story is very rich. The animation is absolutely beautiful, beautiful animation. And obviously it sets the stage for so many different character arcs. So I really hope that it's getting a second season because, yeah, I would love to see more.
I can confirm it is confirmed for a second season. But
Hell yeah!
Because what I do is people. I have my Netflix. I have my wiki pages up for each of my shows ahead of time, and it does say that Riot Games and Netflix have announced the second season is in production for a post 2022 release. And I'm like, post, we're going to wait more than a year to watch the show. God,
it takes a long time to make these things, man.
I mean, I would like how without spoiling it, they must have known they were getting a second season. How that first season ended, because I'm calling bullshit if they didn't know that. Like honestly, that I like you, Jordan. I think I saw like a teaser for it, and I was like, okay, this, but I didn't. It was sort of like in the background when I watched it, and then I watched a proper trailer for it, and then I was like, okay, this seems pretty interesting. And then I thought to myself, well, it's, I've heard about the lore and whatnot, so okay, cool. And then someone said to me, no, watch the first episode. I actually think it was your housemate. They said to me, watch. He was like, have you heard the good word of Arcane? Preaching. And because he was doing that to a few people, I believe, as well.
To be honest with you, right, I think it's one of those things where, someone is like, it's really good, please give it a chance, please, for the love of God, give it a chance. And it's like, oh, but there's so many things I'm watching every day. And then it's like, you can tell that this show is made by people who love the work that they do. Like you say, it's made by Riot, and it's also made by a French animation studio. And essentially, it's just they have very lovingly brought their own franchise to life. And I think it's probably the only time that that's really paid off. I mean, a lot of companies that make media out of their own games, like films, etc., don't always hit the mark. But I think everyone is universally happy with this show.
It's pretty interesting. Well, like obviously people luckily can now watch it all in one go. But when we got it, it's also one of the first shows ever to release in 3 episodes a week.
Yeah, it was an interesting choice.
Like because obviously people it actually does releasing the 3 episodes a week does actually tie into the narrative, which I thought was a really good way of doing it. And just like the pacing of the show, I thought was brilliant. Like the show did have its slower moments, but not slower in the sense of you got bored of it. Slower in the sense of just it's building this narrative up, and it makes you more invested. So you get these things in shows where it just feels like it's sluggish. It feels like it's slow. You just don't want to continue. Whereas this show is slow in the case of it's slow, but it's pulling you. It's pulling you in more. It's like it's got tiny little ropes tied around you. It's inching you ever closer without you realizing, getting you more into it and everything. And But yeah, going back to what you said, Jordan, as well, like the animation is just stunning, like gorgeous. Like
I was just doing my background googling. The French animation studio is called Fortiche, who have done work with many people, including Riot Games in the past, as well as working with Gorillaz and various music videos.
and I do want to say, people, if you haven't seen it yet and you're on the fence, because obviously this is League of Legends and it's a very, very popular game series, you might go into this thinking, well, I don't know anything about it. Don't worry. It is a prequel. You need to know nothing about the games at all.
I think that helps too.
Oh yeah, yeah. I know people went into it like with because obviously with the narrative, like I believe people saying like when they played the games, there's like this lore that wasn't confirmed, and it is confirmed in the show, which I thought was pretty interesting. Like
Yeah.
how this, because obviously League of Legends was 10 years old in 2019. Jesus, I didn't realize it was that old. It's old. Is that older than WoW? Then that would make it older
No.
than WoW.
No.
What year did WoW come out?
2004.
Oh, sorry. Oh, what? The actual multiplayer?
Yeah, sorry, you're talking about the MMO. It came out in 2004. And at least I want to say it's 2004. I'm pretty sure it was then. But then, like, Warcraft as a franchise is from, like, the 90s, I think.
No, yes, yeah, 2004. I said, people, I don't know MMOs. I've tried to play every MMO under the sun pretty much. I just can't get into them. I see the love that people have for them, but it just goes to show, really. But yeah, this show, honestly, people, the animation is gorgeous. It's like, it's 3D, but has like a 2D art style to it. And
it's kind of like fake 2D. It's like 2D in a 3D world.
You could pause any aspect of that show and it's a gorgeous painting. Like that's how stunning it is. And as in like Haley Steinfeld's in it as the lead character, Vi and Ella Purnell as Jinx, Powder Jinx, that's her nickname in the show. And she was brilliant. The voice acting is phenomenal. And I just thought, yeah, it was great. But yeah, no, definitely check it out, people. But that is Jordan's number 2 and my number 3. So it's a more different conversation than that. So my number 2 is, now we're gonna stay in this round because someone was saying to me, oh, I don't know about this show because it just seems to be about blood and that's it. But my number 2 is Castlevania, the final season.
Oh, so it's actually ended.
Yeah, no, it was the narrative is entire, like start to finish, like done. The show itself is I think this was the first time that people, in my opinion, was like, this is how you do a video game adaptation. Like Arcane, you don't need to know anything about Castlevania going into the show. You don't need to know anything. Obviously, if you know Castlevania, the very basics, it involves Dracula and some other stuff and whips. Literally, that's pretty much the whole games and everything. But it stars Richard Armitage, who you might know as the main dwarf from The Hobbit. I can't remember his name.
Thorin Oakenshield.
There we go. Thorin Oakenshield. He plays the character Trevor Belmont. So the Castlevania series is about the Belmonts versus Dracula. That's the narrative of it. And then there's James Callisu, who's in Battlestar Galactica as Gaius Baltar. Graham McTavish, who's been in a ton of stuff. He plays Vlad Dracula Tepesh. Not the Middle East this time. Thought we'd bring that joke back a little bit there because I think that's quite funny. Yeah, basically, people, I said that Resident Evil 8 was based in the Middle East when I meant the East as Romanian region and Transylvanian region, and I was stupidly wrong. So you could go back and listen to my blunder last week on that. But yeah, the show itself though is just stunning. It's 2D. It was animated by Powerhouse Animation, but the show itself, it is. I don't want to spoil it. It's only 32 episodes long. So the first season's 4 episodes, and then it actually goes a bit in increments of 2 after that. It's very, very narrative heavy at the beginning. Not a lot of action happens in the first 3 episodes. And it just ramps up from there. And by the end, you are so invested. And it is getting a sequel. But the sequel is set in the French Revolution about his descendant, Richter Belmont. So it's a continuing story. And I don't want to. The problem is like these sorts of shows, you don't really want to spoil it because going into it, I mean, you'll generally know the Castlevania story, but it does have a huge other element to it. And if you just want it on the background, have it that. But yeah, just go watch it. And I think the reason I put this higher than Arcane is because whereas Arcane was stunning visually, the story was great, and I think it's added a new layer to the video game adaptation genre, which actually people maybe an entire show coming down the line, adaptation to general video game adaptation separately. I think the reason I put this high is because it finished. Like it told its whole story, and you know exactly where it went. And I thought there was nothing. Like it just kept getting better and better and better and better. I say that 4 times because there was 4 seasons, and like, but yeah, it's just stunning. Like if you want to get into animation, watch that show. Like, you know, creating 10 seconds from that is gorgeous in the fight scenes. So yeah, people, that is my number 2, Castlevania season 4, or I'm just going to call it now Castlevania the entire series, and that is on Netflix, people. So definitely go check that out. So yeah, right, people, we are coming down to our number 1s now. We are going round to our number 1s now. James, do you want to give us your number 1 TV show you watched in 2021?
Yeah, absolutely. But first of all, let's play a little bit of a game. So, can any of you guess what genre my top show is? So far, we've had comedy, 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 and my number
Horror.
1.
Sci-fi.
Ding, ding, ding.
I know what's
Jordan gets
happening.
it.
I know what's going to happen.
So, yeah, my number 1 is not comedy. It is sci-fi. It is The Expanse. So I will caveat this, but this is season 5 of The Expanse that I'm rating as my number 1. I've not actually seen season 6 yet, but season 5 finished its run at the start of 2021, so I'm going to include it here. And I think The Expanse is probably the best sci-fi show I've seen. It's very, very human conflicts, which is why it's so good. But even and they took it in some very interesting directions in season 5 as well, with the all the main characters basically having not necessarily been together as they have been in previous episodes, but having their own separate narratives, but all kind of feed into each other in the end. And it's I don't want to spoil anything because I think you should watch it. I think it's my favourite series of The Expanse so far, and that's saying something. So
No, I definitely agree with you, James. I've just realised that season 6 is finished now, so I will be watching that very soon. And I definitely agree, it is probably one of the best sci-fi TV shows I've ever watched. I loved Battlestar, the first few seasons of that. I loved that show. I know it's coming back with a show and a movie, so I don't know if it'll be a continuation or a reboot. I think it should be a reboot, in my opinion. But yeah, just The Expanse and how it was the first season, just how it took a realistic take of everything, how it would go, like the Belters and how, you know, gravity works with them. I obviously won't spoil it for people, but it doesn't work well if you're in space that long for Belters and with gravity. Like, I'm a big fan of Thomas Jane. Like, I loved him when he was in The Punisher, humorously in Deep Blue Sea as the shark trainer. And, you know, and just see him in the shows as, like, whole detective and everything. And I can't remember the main guy's name. What is the main guy's name? Stephen. His name is Stephen. I bet Stephen Strait. That's it. I was checking out Stephen Strait. There we go. And he's great in the show. And I thought the show was brilliant. I can't wait to watch the final season. Honestly, I'm a bit sad that it's not going to finish how the books finished, like, because I've heard the final book came out, it was really good. Or it might have been the final book, it might have been like near the end, near the last book, but they finished it in their own way. So yeah, that's pretty awesome, James. And yeah, I'm actually surprised I didn't put that on my list.
I think I'm going to have to read the books after finishing the season 6.
Yeah, I mean, that's it, people. Go watch the show and go buy the books. That's the best way to go. Yeah, exactly. And yeah, thank you very much, James, for your number 1. Jordan, let's roll down to you. What is your number 1?
So, I don't know what you're on today, Nate, but you seem to be like able to read my mind ahead of time. But of course, it wouldn't be a top TV show list without my number one pick of Walking Dead season 11. I'm like the only person I know that's still holding the candle for Walking Dead, but they've really outdone themselves with this season. Honestly, it is the perfect way to end such a long and completely crazy but heartwarming and devastating wild TV show. And it's only part of the way through the season so far. They've done I think it's like 8 episodes so far, and they're going to do another 8 and then another 8 after that. So it's in like 3 big parts. But the new season will be starting up again, I believe, on the 22nd of February. Yeah, this season they've really, you could tell the creators have had a lot of fun with the episodes, because each episode has like its own unique sort of setting and like storyline, and absolutely wild TV show. Honestly, I think everyone knows a lot about The Walking Dead at this point, and that it's based in our world, but in a way that everyone's got this crazy disease that turns them into zombies. And so yeah, it's pretty exciting, and of course very dramatic. A lot of crazy stuff happens. I was actually reading up about it the other day, and apparently whenever a character dies in Walking Dead, they hold a last supper in their like studio space to celebrate their departure from the show, which I thought was pretty cute. And going off of something you were saying earlier, Nate, in terms of casting diverse characters, one of the ongoing members of the cast is a lady by the name of Angel Theory, and they wrote into her story that that she is progressively growing deafer, as Angel Theory themselves is also losing their hearing in real time. So I remember reading a comment that said from one of the producers that rather than fighting it, they wanted to make it a part of their story. So yeah, it's pretty neat. But yeah, no, I absolutely love Walking Dead, and I'll be sad to see it go when it eventually ends. I think in 2023. But yeah, no, it's absolutely wonderful ride, and I wholeheartedly recommend that show to everyone.
Yeah, and obviously there'll be more stuff coming on with that. Multiple offshoots. We got Fear the Walking Dead. We've got The Walking Dead, the teens one. There's like
another one that's called like Walking Dead World or something.
yeah,
I
something like
haven't
that.
seen the other shows. This is the thing. I've only watched Walking Dead, but I definitely think I should watch the other shows at some point. They're all related to each other, but like in the same universe, but they're not like affecting each other so much. They're like their own stories with like different groups of people, all kind of happening in tandem with the main show.
Yeah, The Walking Dead. I think when it's finished, I'm definitely going to go back and watch it.
To be honest with you, it'll take you so long to watch it from start to finish that by the time you do, you'll probably get to the new season. There's like 170 episodes, and they're all an hour long.
I don't know if I could go back to Carl, or all the time and everything.
Just
But no,
no.
yeah,
No.
and tons of Shane at the beginning. Yeah, honestly, thank you very much, Jordan. But The Walking Dead, yeah, I can't. I was listening to your list, and I was like, where is it? I know it's there somewhere. But thank you very much for your number one. That is The Walking Dead, people. Walking Dead season 11 for Jordan.
You can watch it on Disney Plus.
Yes, which is very good for a lot of people because you couldn't had a lot of issues before. Thank you very much, Jordan. Well, people, as everyone else's number one, we are coming on to the final number one now, and this is where a discussion will be coming back with James now, because my number one is The Witcher season 2. Now, this is going to be an interesting small conversation because I'm probably going to have conflicting opinions to James a little bit because, as mentioned before, James has a huge passion for the books and the video games. He's read them all. He's played them all, and I've only played the third game. So, and I only found out in the last couple of months that it isn't canon because I thought it was, and turns out that they're not canon. I just thought they were continuation.
Well, they are continuation, but I mean, Sapkowski definitely would not be writer of the books. Definitely would not consider The Witcher canon. It's CD Projekt, but as my understanding that it's CD Projekt Red's own interpretation of what could happen afterwards.
But yeah, Witcher season 2. I know one big point. I'll continue. I will say the name now, and I think James knows the name I'm going to say because I think there'll be a point for him. Eskel.
Actually, I didn't care about that.
Interesting.
So the thing is, in the books, the witches are very small. He's not a big character in the books at all. My whole bit with Kermorn is in the books is basically the first part of Blood of Elves, and then the rest of the saga, Kermorn's not a thing. But I don't go back there. So it's. But I mean, I'm glad they expanded on it, and they expanded on the Kermorn aspect quite a lot. But those witches, those characters just aren't that big a deal. Being great in the start of the book, but they are essentially a small character. They're not. I mean, after the first part of Blood of Elves, those witches, those characters, they don't appear, as far as I can remember.
I will
Unless I remember
say,
wrongly.
the main characters themselves just get better this season. More grunting and fuck from Henry Cavill because I think he was born to play this role, in my opinion. I think I've got the bloody show up here. I should have just gone up here. Henry Cavill's Geralt of Rivia, Freya Allen as Ciri, and Anya Chalotra as Yennefer. Yeah, James.
So I just want to say on your point about Henry Cavill's performance. Again, yes, I thought he's great. I just wanted to say how I love the fact that Cavill, also having read the books, that pushed my understanding is that he pushed to try and get more dialogue for Geralt, so that his character was closer to the books. So whereas in the first character he was just very monosyllabic, in the second one he was more much more verbose. Much more philosophical, which is much more like he is in the books. And it was great to see see that. That's one of the good things about the second season.
Yeah, I definitely counterpoint to that is like obviously going off of that, like I saw the interview where he was like, oh yeah, and he went in and said, no, this is how the book is, and he actually corrected the show on how the show's going, which I thought is really passionate for someone as an actor to do that. Like I know other actors have done that with other properties, and to have an actor come in and do that, like obviously I feel he's been let down by other properties, in my opinion, which he has a huge passion for. And now to see he's got this property, he's got a huge passion for it, and I'm really loving the fact that he has that.
So like I've gone into this show completely dry, and so like I have no gaming experience, no book experience, but I definitely watched all of it over Christmas, and yeah, I do definitely agree that like it's only getting better, and I think one of the best things you can be in terms of like someone like Henry Cavill and having known everything about the story from a lore perspective is that you have a lot of sway because you're the main character of a huge production, and if you turn around and be like, it's not how it's supposed to go, I feel like they'll be like, yes, Mr. Cavill, we will change it.
I think yes and no to some point. I think obviously just him having the actual knowledge itself is a huge, like obviously being the main character he's gonna have a lot of sway, but having that is just like that extra bow, arrow in his quiver. I'm trying to get my words out there. Bow in his quiver, arrow in his quiver. Essentially, and and being a huge nerd himself, like, just really helps. And he's constantly I think he's like rereading them a lot and playing the games again a lot just to keep fresh and everything. And I think going off the other characters, we'll go into the other stuff a little bit, but the other characters though, Freya Allen as Ciri, I thought she was much not much better. She was really good. You see her like really coming into her own more, and like see her developing more, because she was just basically on the run the first season, and she's not running anymore. Essentially, she's pushing
like found
into
her place.
Exactly. Well, she's pushing into this like more. She's finding her strength essentially, and yeah, James.
I was just going to say I can't spoil anything for next seasons.
Yeah, because as I said, James knows everything, and
I wanted to say something, but then I didn't because I knew it was a spoiler.
Don't you goddamn spoil a thing.
If I can't talk about the Spider-Man trailer, you can't talk about a single thing with the book, James. How dare you? How dare you? No, it's fine. It's fine.
He's just got ammo.
Yeah. Another character. I go off the main three first. Anya Chalotra, or Chalotra, I hope I pronounced the name correctly. As Yennefer, I thought she was great this season. I liked her rapport with Jaskier, as that love of my man is back with his. The song was not as strong as last season, in my opinion. I still loved it. I've considered doing it for an open mic somewhere one day. I've actually been considering doing that maybe later on. But I loved it, and I actually liked their rapport, and I loved. I just thought she was great, and how she. It goes into her backstory a bit more with like her bloodline, which I think is pretty interesting, and like the sides there and how it ties into other factions, which is really interesting. Obviously Jaskier, I thought he was really awesome. I love the fact that he is a real big geek in real life as well. So, you know, the friendship between him and Geralt, it does kind of like bleed over into the show. It, like, you get that relationship in real life with characters in real life. They're just, you could tell in the show that they have a good chemistry. The CGI and the animation was a lot better this season. Like, the visual effects were much better. Like,
the monsters especially.
Yeah, like obviously, James, you may be able to confirm, but was the whole like what's the markers called again? The obelisk markers. What are they called?
Monoliths. That's complete invention by the TV series.
See, how do you feel about that? Because I thought that might have been part of the books.
No. So can I go on a bit of a rant about the books and the and season 1?
So long as you don't spoil it.
I won't. I won't spoil the series, but spoil books. All I'll say is I felt so my second Witcher is that I felt that it's about season 2 was about 10% faithful to the book it was based on. So much of that series was completely new inventions, and they completely changed scenes with the books. So look, the very first episode of season 2 I thought was fantastic and I loved. I just don't think it kept up to that level the rest of the way. First episode wasn't entirely faithful to the short story, but was faithful enough. And it was certainly thematically faithful, which is the most important thing.
I have actually read The Last Wish. I have actually read that first story as well, so I know exactly what you're going on about there.
Yeah, cool. Thank you. And yeah, so I have criticisms. I'm critical of some stuff in The Witcher, but I still enjoy it, and I want to see it improve. I definitely want to see the whole thing done. I want to see the books finished and completed. I'm hoping that they fix some of the deviations from books, because there are certain characters where I'm a little bit skeptical as to where they're going with that character, knowing where they are in the books and knowing that they've already gone right from very off. They've gone in a very different direction for some of the characters from the books, and I'm a little bit curious as to how they're going to bring it back.
Could it? I'm going to make a guess here. You could just say yes or no. Is it Triss?
No, Triss was done well.
Okay then. Or Kahir.
Correct.
Okay, yeah, because I like when bit of context, people, when I watched the first season, I was like, oh, I don't like this character. He's, you know, I really don't like him. James is saying to me, give it time. You know, he's actually really, really important, good character.
That's not quite what I would say. I don't really want to give spoilers or anything, but but what I'm going to say is that the character of Kahir in the books is completely different to how they portrayed him in the show.
Would you say it's better or worse?
Worse.
Okay.
I prefer the book version. I really do prefer the book version, but it goes in a much. They might claw it back. They might claw it back with the TV show. I'm just curious how they are going to do that if they manage to.
One thing I did like about the season actually does link to Kahir, the armor. Like
the armor was an improvement.
They changed the Nilfgaardian armor, which was, I think, was a universal thing. Even I think, you know, the people on the show understood that and they changed it. But I definitely think like a lot of the characters coming into, like a lot of the characters introduced into the show is Vesemir. I thought actually I really enjoyed his introduction into the show. I'm just actually reading this now. Is that obviously if you watched our movie episode, Nightmare of the Wolf is mentioned, and the voice actor for that, Theo James, actually is in season 1 of The Witcher. he does the voice cameo of a young Vesemir. So I don't know if that was just a case of like they had him come in to do a quick voiceover for season 1, or it was a case of they were already planning the animated film and they already had him cast. Either way, I think that's really awesome how they did that. But yeah, I thought Vesemir was great. Obviously, I've only known Vesemir from the game. Like I've only known him from that, so seeing the character is really awesome. But I just think the show is great, and I like how they introduced a certain group of characters, a group of a faction. I'm not going to go into spoilers, but I thought their introduction was pretty badass. And like obviously, going by what you said, James, about like it's only 10% faithful to the book. I'm loving the aspect of like the obelisk monoliths and everything. I'm loving that, like how they're going with that.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think Jordan could give the point here. Is that Jordan is coming in completely cold, so it's nice to have a completely opposite parallel to this, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's like there is a kind of doomsday thing going on with this series, and the reason it wasn't in my top TV shows is more because I don't know the story, so I don't know where it's going. But now that I know that it's an invention, it's like, well, no one knows. It's going to be crazy, and I can't. It seemed a bit cheesy to me, but that said, I'm kind of interested to see like where it goes. Kind of what James was saying earlier. It's like just because it's not the same as the original doesn't mean it can't be good. So I'm kind of looking forward to seeing what they're going to do, but at the same time, I'm like, yeah, but it could go really wrong from here because that's a real trope.
So, circling back to that, one of the reasons I'm cautiously optimistic that it will get better is because I believe I was watching some interviews with Lauren Hiswich, the showrunner. She was explaining why Blood of Elves, which was what the book that season 1 was based on, was a harder book to adapt, but also that she really likes, she's a big fan of the second book, which the third season will be based on. So I'm hoping they start to become more faithful to the books as time goes on. That is my sincere hope. Certainly, in terms of the situation with the politics and stuff, by the end of the first book, that's pretty faithful. They set up the situations pretty faithfully. It's just how they got to that point wasn't. And I would like to just take one more mention as well for me is that I wish they were more faithful to the books in the first season. In particularly, I felt that Rience should have had much more of a presence than he did. So Rience in the books is his name in the TV show is, I think it's Firefucker or something like that. Which I didn't really like, in all fairness, but I don't think he ever actually used his name, but his name is Rience. He is the villain in the first book, and I just wish he was more of a presence than he was. But the actor I thought was fantastic in the role.
Awesome. But yeah, just going off of final points that I'm really looking forward to where they're going. Obviously, season 3 has been confirmed. We're getting the prequel series, which is called Blood Origin, which is about the union of the union of the worlds. What's it called? The Convergence. It's based on. I believe it's based on the Convergence. Conjunction. I'm just definitely confirming that now. Yeah, so it's basically set 1,200 years before. I'm just trying to get my information here. Yeah, it's set 1,200 years before the books. It's Blood Origin depicting the creation of the first Witcher, as well as the events leading up to the conjunction of the spheres, and will explore ancient elven civilizations. So, and going back to the other stuff, obviously they've got like a kids TV show in the works as well for The Witcher, which I don't know how they're going to do that. And James is just shaking his head right now, like.
As soon as I heard about that, WTF were the 3 letters that came to mind. I don't understand it.
I think Netflix. I think they will do the entirety of the books because of 2 things. They've got the Wheel of Time on Amazon, which is I highly recommend that show, by the way. I've just watched it recently. But that's like 14 books, which I don't think that will go. And Lord of the Rings. which they've just released. If you just into the Rings of Power, the new season is called. The new it's presents Second Age, and Amazon have that. And I think this is Netflix's Game of Thrones essentially. I think this is their this is their big fantasy, and I think this is how we will get all those seasons. And the second season actually made more people go back and watch the first season because they released the statistics, and the actual first season was viewed a ton, actually above the second season at one point, because the people were just catching up to watch the second season. And yeah, I definitely highly recommend it, people. And I'm just really looking forward to what Henry Cavill does next, because you never know, maybe Mr. Bond, but I've got a couple of other people in mind for that as well. But he'll be fine. He'll be fine.
Should have a discussion on that.
Yeah, that is actually a point, people. We'll be having a Bond retrospective of the Daniel Craig movies, because I haven't seen Spectre or No Time to Die. So I'll be watching those films. We were having a Bond retrospective as well as a discussion on where the Bond movies can go next and who we'd like to cast. I've actually got a few ideas in mind for that. But that is it, people. That is my number one. And with that, people, we come to a close with all the TV shows that we liked in 2021, as well as the conclusion of our top 5 lists of Entitled 21 for movies, TV shows, and video games. Wow, people, that was a ride indeed, like a long ride indeed, and a lot of interesting discussion, a lot of interesting finds. How did you guys feel about that? It was pretty interesting to see all those different, takes, to be honest.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was pretty
I enjoyed
hot
it.
takes.
Definitely up for having a bigger discussion of The Witcher if you're up for it at some point.
That is definitely something I'm definitely interested in doing, to be honest. I was actually contemplating that, James, to be honest. But yeah, but with that, people, that is it. We have wrapped up this episode, and I want to thank you for joining us today. Now we're going to change it up a bit, people, with the episodes. Now we've been releasing our spoiler discussions for our films with this episode, but we've decided to split up for you, so you get a little extra treat during the week. During those midweek blues, we thought we might release those spoiler discussions or extra topic discussions later in the week. These won't be every week, but we thought we'd give them to you and trickle them to you. Though, look out later down the line, we may have some extra special episodes coming, and we will figure that out as we go along. But people, keep an eye out there for a special short episode as we sink our teeth, pun intended, I know people are probably going to shake their heads at me, into a spoiler discussion for Resident Evil Welcome to Racoon City. And I gotta take a deep breath after that, because Jesus, God Christ, we've got, as Jordan has stated to me, he has got some hot takes.
I just think you gotta give it a chance. Gotta give that film a go, because it's definitely a riot. It's a good time.
I gave it a chance, and we if you can tell from my demeanor, my vocal demeanor right now, it kind of tells you pretty much how I feel. Or does it? I could be faking out right now, but
it's just the fucking Ghost of the Feast, man.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. Go to the feast. Come and join us as we dig into that. But yeah, people, honestly, thank you for joining us today. Thank you, James. Thank you, Jordan, for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure, fellas. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. If you'd like to get in contact with us with any questions or queries, please feel free to email us at nmipodcast@outlook.com. That's nmipodcast@outlook.com. Or follow us on Twitter and Instagram at nmicast. That's Twitter and Instagram at nmicast. We are on Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcast, and we are going to be soon on Stitcher and Audible, possibly in the future. Please give us a rating on iTunes if you're watching. It definitely helps us with the bump there. If you have any questions or queries, obviously, again, please join them to us. Please join us next week as we look forward to 2022 and we find out what we're really looking forward to watching and playing, because there is so much coming out this year. People are going, we finally got the time to release stuff because COVID is going away. Let's bring out the goodies. Let's bring it out to the people. And but yeah, I just want to say thank you again to my co-host today. It's been absolutely lovely to have you. I've been your host, Nate, and I hope you all stay safe, and I will see you all next week for our next episode. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.